Preparing a T2 corporate income tax return with ProFile. In this video, we're going to learn how to activate the T2 corporate license, whether it be the unlimited package or the OnePay. We're also going to learn on how to create a new return and carry forward a T2 return, opening an existing T2 return, using the training feature, using the Form Explorer, corporate linking, navigating the auditor, completing the T2 Giffy information, preparing the T2 for e-file and refile, so an amended T2 return, preparing the AT1 for filing, and printing and print setup. We'll also review the CO17 Quebec and related provincial forms. Let's get started. Activating the T2 license. Once the software is downloaded and installed, you're going to open ProFile, go to the Help menu, Manage License, Add New. For licenses starting in 2022, you will no longer require a product code. This is for years 2021 and prior. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the email you received with your invoice. Your license key will be located in that email. So you can copy it, paste, and then activate. Then your license will be activated successfully. Close. And then you're going to see your license here. It'll say tax year 2022, and then it'll say T2 or T2 plus Quebec. And then close. And now we're active. Let's move on to creating a new return. In ProFile, we'll go into the File menu, New, and then you're going to select T2. Here you're going to need to enter your taxation year start and the taxation year end. Let's go the 1st of January 2022, and I'll automatically fill in my year end. Say OK. And then this is a new 2020-2022 corporate information return. You'll need to complete the general information, so the business number and the corporation name. And then in the filing section, you'll need to answer yes or no to some of these questions. Date of incorporation. You'll need to enter the jurisdiction, whether it be Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Quebec. Type of corporation, so if you're a Canadian-controlled private corporation, you select, or something else from the list, depending on the type of corporation. And then you need to fill out your head office address information, and then the mailing address and location of books will autofill if they are the same. And then you just continue down to the province if this is applicable to your return. Also, you'll notice the signing officer and contact person information. This is likely the owner or director's information. Let's look at how to carry forward a T2 corporate file. Let's go back to ProFile. So in the File menu, Carry Forward, you'll have the Carry Forward a File window open. You select the T2 tab. I will go by date, and then I see my tax return here I want to carry forward. So I click it and click Carry Forward. Once it's opened, you can give the information form a quick review to make sure all the information is correct and nothing has changed since the prior year. Now to opening an existing T2 corporate return. Let's say you're done for the day, so you want to close up. So you go to File, Save. You save the return, then File, Close. And then you forgot something, or it's the next day and you want to open the file. So now we go to File, Open. You're going to locate the file that you are looking for. So I'll make sure you select the T2 tab. I found my file, Open, and now I'm ready to continue working in my return. Using the training feature in ProFile. ProFile has this neat little training feature that will help you get through the basic information of a T2 return. So now you open ProFile, you go under Training tab. Here we're going to use a 2020-2022 T2. We're going to select Getting Started. And you're going to see the welcome screen, and it's going to guide you step by step through the information. So you just got to click the Next button and then enter the date of the tax return you wish to complete. Then you say OK. The corporate information is going to open, and again, the training feature is going to guide you through. So you just click next until you've gotten through the information. Once the information is complete, then the training feature will take you to the next steps, which is the Schedule 1. It'll guide you through some of these forms and features of ProFile. So you'll have some little tips and tricks here. Once you have gone through the basic training, then you'll have learned the basic operating features of ProFile. Using and navigating the Form Explorer. So we've opened a T2 return in ProFile, and now we're going to look for forms or schedules that we may need. So you click this little Open the Form Explorer here icon, or you can click F4 on your keyboard to open the Form Explorer. Here we can search by section. So here you have the identification, so the info and the rack details and summary. Federal, these are all the federal forms that are available in ProFile. Giffy, these are all the Giffy forms that you can be or will be using. Provincial are all the provincial forms available in ProFile. Alberta is got an individual section. If you live in Alberta, you'll need to complete an AT1 Alberta corporate income tax return. Same with Quebec. If you are a resident of Quebec, then you'll need to complete the CO17 Quebec corporate income tax return. Capital tax. These are taxable capital employed in Canada. Filing. These forms are shareholder information and worksheets and such. Installments, you'll need this if you have paid installments or that you will need to pay installments. The client, these are for client letters and the 5-year summary, regular summary. This is all the forms, including all provinces available in ProFile. Used forms are what you're going to see that's used in the current tax return. Data entered, it's the ones that you've entered data in, so other forms could be just empty. Also, you can see by, let's choose all here, you can see by the list, so you can see it this way. You can choose details, that way you can see the category description if it's used, if you used it last year. Key is the keyword, so if you want to look for lease, then it'll give you the forms that are related to lease, so either Schedule 1 auto or Schedule 8 lease. Line, you can search by a line in the return. I can also type the name of the form that I want to use, so let's write S8 for Schedule 8, and it'll open up my capital cost allowance Schedule 8 form. Another form search feature is the search bar at the top here, so you can type in, let's say, dividends, and it'll give me a list of forms that have dividend related information. So let's select Schedule 3 and it'll open the form. Now let's take a look at corporate linking. In ProFile, I'm open in the return that I wish to link another corporate return to. So there are two ways to link another corporation. I can use File menu, link a corporation, or I can use the little link icon here, link a corporation. Then I'm going to link new. It's going to bring me to my ProFile data T2 returns location. So I'm going to select a corp that I wish to link. So I select open. Once the return data is done loading, I can select what I want to link, or I can uncheck what I don't want to link. And then I click confirm. And it says here, corporate linking, you have successfully linked the file to the return. So you can either select link another or close. And then you'll see here that the information has been linked. So you see here in the link status, you'll see it's linked. You'll see the file path it linked from, and the basic information of the corporation that's linked. Navigating and understanding the auditor. In ProFile, there are three ways to open the auditor. You can go to the Audit menu, Show Auditor. In the toolbar, you can use the Show Auditor icon, or by using the Control F9 function on your keyboard. You'll notice that in your auditor you'll have several tabs, such as Summary, Warnings, RSI, but the most commonly used tabs will be the Summary, Warnings, RSI, eFile, CO17 Internet eFile, Overrides, and Data Import. The Summary tab summarizes all the other tabs. The Warnings tab gives you a list of the warnings that you will see in red which need to be either corrected or signed off. RSI messages are a list of issues that will prevent e-filing. The e-file tab will give you the e-file error you received during e-filing. Same with the CO17, it will give you a CO17 e-file error to Revenue Quebec. Overrides will give you a list of all fields that you have overridden in red. Some of them can prevent e-filing. And finally, the data import tab it will give you the list of everything that you have imported from the AFR. If you need to sign off of a warning as opposed to correction, then you can right-click directly on the warning in red and select Prepare Sign Off. You can also double-click on the message and it will circle the actual warning. In the circled field, you can right-click in the field itself, and then you're going to select Review Marks and then Prepare a Sign Off. Also, you can make the correction if there is a mistake or correction needed. Same thing with the RSI messages. These messages again will prevent e-filing. So what you can do is you can click on the message, double click, and it will take you directly to the field that needs to be fixed. So here you can see that it says please provide relationship code. You cannot actually change the code in this form. You must go into the rack details and then you will select the relationship code here for the Schedule 9 section. If you have overrides and you need to remove the override, then you're going to click on the Overrides tab. Double click on the overridden message. It will circle the field here where it says that it's been overridden. You can right click and you'll have a check mark beside override. So you can just tick it and it will remove the override and it'll return back to the original information. Another way to remove the override, again, is double click on the overridden message. It will circle the override. You can, if you look up in the toolbar, you'll see the override lock icon, so you can tick it and it'll return back to normal. Also, hitting F2 in the field will remove the override. Using review marks on audit messages can be done by either clicking on the message, then right-clicking, and then you have your selection of your review marks. Also by right-clicking in a specific field, selecting review marks, and selecting the option you wish. And you also have the review marks up here in the toolbar, so you can click on your sign-off check mark, bring it down, select the check mark, bring it back up again. You can also review all your sign-offs by below it in the auditor. You click on sign-offs and it'll give you a list of every field that you've signed off on. Completing the T2 Giffy information. When completing the Giffy information in a T2, the first thing to check is in the info form, there is a question where it says complete return from Giffy. You must answer yes. Now let's look at the Giffy and Giffy related forms. So in the Form Explorer, I select number 3 Giffy, and here is a list of my Giffy worksheets and related forms. Let's start with the Schedule 100 Giffy balance sheet. So you select Open, and here you will see where you have to enter your assets, liabilities, equity, and retained earnings. Next, let's look at the Schedule 100 notes. Here you will enter any basic or detailed information from your balance sheet and financial statements. On to the Schedule 101, Giffy opening balance sheet. This is used for first-time filers. So if this is your first year completing a return for your corporation, you will use Schedule 101 and Schedule 100. Now let's look at the Schedule 125, the Giffy income statement. Here you're going to record your income, cost of sales and operating expenses, and any other expenses or income that you will need to record. Next, we'll look at the Schedule 140, the Giffy income statement information. This Giffy income statement information is a summary of multiple Schedule 125s. So if you have more than one financial statement, so a Schedule 125 number 2, number 3, it will all add up here. And finally, the Schedule 141, the Giffy note checklist. CRA has removed the RSI errors for this Schedule 141, so you will no longer see audit messages regarding this form. So no more warnings or notices of any kind. If you are completing a return that does not have a Giffy or does not require the Giffy, then you're going to select No here in the info form. Then in the Schedule 1, you'll see that you can manually enter the income and your expenses. Preparing the T2 for e-file. Now that you have completed your T2 corporate tax return, you are ready to e-file your return. In order to e-file your return, you will either need your e-filer ID and password or use a web access code. So first, let's look at the e-filer ID and password. In the e-file menu, Options, T2 e-file. So here you will enter an e-file number provided by CRA. So if you don't have one, then you need to contact CRA and request an e-file number and a password. The password is case sensitive, so it must be in uppercase, and it's a 7-digit alphanumeric code. If you will be e-filing CO17 to Revenue Quebec, you will also need a net file QC number, which is the same as the federal, but the access code will be different. It will be a 6-digit code only. If you do not have net file number, then you will need to request a click revenue number, and then Revenue Quebec will provide you with a user code and password in order to e-file the CO17. Once the electronic filing options are complete, you hit OK, and now you're ready to e-file. Once you have completed the electronic filer options, you are ready to e-file. So the next step is to go e-file, transmit this return. You will see here that the return has been checked for e-file errors and has built. So it's successful and is ready for e-file. You click OK. The next window that will come up after clicking OK will be the CRA e-file window. So you'll either receive a T2 confirmation or an e-file error. The e-file error will tell you what the problem is in the return. So you can either open the auditor and go in under the e-file tab, and the message will be here. So this will allow you to correct the e-file errors. One of the most common e-file errors is the T2 EDI e-file 1005 error. This means either that the software is not up to date, so you need to go to online, check for updates, or the module isn't correct, which I will show you how to fix. If you receive the CRA error 1005 and your software is up to date, then like I said earlier, your module is incorrect. In order to change the module, you will need to go into the File menu and Properties. And here you will see the T2 file properties. So under the client status, you will use the drop-down list and you will select Unknown. Same thing with the e-file status. You will use the drop-down, select Unknown. And then you're going to say OK. Once the file properties have been changed, you're going to save and close the file. Once it's closed, you're going to go to File Open, and you're going to open your return. Once you have chosen your file, you'll get this pop-up confirmation window. It'll ask you, do you wish to load? And then it'll say the corp name and the module. So it'll probably be 2020, 2022, for example. So you just choose yes, and then it'll open the return in the correct module, and the CRA e-file error 1005 will be gone. For those of you who do not have an e-filer ID and password, you will be able to use the web access code. So you'll get a pop-up during the e-file session. So you go e-file, transmit this return. You'll see the file successful. You click OK. And this is where you're going to receive the web access code pop-up. So here it'll say, I want to use my e-file number and password, which you do not have. Or you can, I want to request a web access code and file the tax return, or I already have a web access code. If you already have one provided by CRA, you can enter it here. If you do not already have one and want to request one, you select this, and the software will automatically generate a web access code for you. Then you click Accept, and the return will file to CRA. How to e-file a T2 amended tax return using ReFile. Now my T2 return has been e-filed and accepted by CRA. But now I realized I made a mistake, or I forgot to add something, or I've even been reassessed by CRA and they require modifications. So this means I have to amend my return and refile it. First things first, in the information form under the filing section, there is a question I will need to answer. Is this an amended tax return? So here I will need to answer yes. So now I'll need to enter the details of my changes. For this, I'll need to complete the T2 adjustment form. So I'm going to open the Form Explorer, type in T2 adjust and enter. And here you're going to see the T2 adjustment worksheet. Here you will see a small list of what cannot be refiled. So if you made changes to this information, it cannot be refiled. You'll need to send it by paper. Below is the basic information of the corporation. Is this an amended tax return? Has already been selected yes from the info form. Here is the description of change. So here you will enter the line or the field that's been changed and the amount that has been changed. From here, you'll go into the tax return and make the necessary adjustments. So you can change whatever field or line that you need to change, and then save a copy. So you'll go to File, Save As. At the bottom here where there's a square and 3 dots, click on it. It'll open the file location. So at the end of the name here, you can add Amended, and then Save, and then Save again. Now to refile. So you're going to e-file the return as if it would be a normal return. So you're going to use e-file, transmit this return. You'll see that the return has been built and it's successful, so you click OK, and the amended return will e-file to CRA. Now let's look at how to prepare and file an AT1 Alberta tax return. Let's go into a T2 tax return. In the information form, under jurisdiction, you're going to need to make sure that Alberta AB is selected with the drop-down list. You'll need to double check and make sure that the head office address, mailing address, location of books, and signing officer all has AB for Alberta in the province. And you'll need to fill out the Alberta section of the info form. In order to net file the AT1, you have to answer yes to AT1 net file. You have to answer yes to third-party service provider, and you need your Alberta account number that is provided by the Alberta government. Now let's take a look at the AT1 tax return. So let's go into Form Explorer. Let's select Alberta here, and let's go into the AT1. This is the Alberta Corporate Income Tax Return, AT1. You'll see that most of this information has been auto-filled from the info form and from the entries you made on the federal side. For additional information to fill out your Alberta tax return, you can go into Alberta from the Form Explorer and review all the forms. You may need the Schedule 1 for Alberta or the Schedule 12, depending what your tax return consists of. One of the forms that is mandatory for net filing is the AEDI form. This schedule is for third-party service provider, which means if you are not filing your own tax return, you must fill out this form. So as a tax preparer, you are the third-party service provider. As a preparer, as a third-party service provider, you will also need to fill out the information in the e-file, options, T2 AT1 net file tab. You will need to fill out your third-party service provider information here, as you are the transmitter, the tax preparer. Now that your Alberta AT1 return is completed and you're ready to net file, you're going to go up to e-file menu, net file this AT1 return, and then your billed AT1 will show, and it'll also show successful. So you're going to click OK in order to e-file or net file it to the Alberta government. Let's look at the print setup for a T2 corporate tax return and printing the T2 corporate tax return. Let's look at using the print setup. So in the File menu, Print Setup, T2 tab, and here you'll see where you can change the printer name make sure you uncheck always use default printer. If not, you can't change the printer name. So you just got to uncheck it. And here you can change the printer name. Make sure you change the printer name for each individual category. Also, you can see the margins where you can adjust them. On the right here, you can see you can size it to fit the page and use the printer duplex settings if you use duplexing. Also at the bottom here, you'll see that it says confirm auto font scaling changes and enable T2 print menu. Confirm auto font scale changes are for when you're printing certain forms and the fonts need to be adjusted. ProFile will do that by checking this box. And enable T2 print menu. This changes the way you see the print menu when you select to print the return. So let's click OK here and let's go see what it looks like. Okay, and then let's go to File and let's select Print. And this is what the new print job looks like. So here you see that the file, the client, and CRA copies have been selected to print under here. If you want to see what forms are selected to print, so you'll look under the Forms column here. You'll see here it says 18 forms. So you'll click on it, and this is where you'll see the list of forms that have been selected to print. You can uncheck forms that have been pre-selected for printing, and you can check other forms that will be included in the print job. So here you can set the duplex setting, or you can print the RSI or barcodes. You can reset profile default, or you can save your changes. For those who prefer the classic view, we can just cancel this, cancel here, go back up the File menu, Print Setup, and remove the selection from Enable New T2 Print menu. We'll say OK. Go back up the File menu, select Print, and here's the classic view of the print selection. You can also select the simplified view. So here we go, and then there's a simplified view. The other printing feature is printing a single form. So you can either select the print one icon here at the top, and this will select print one form. So it will print the actual form that you are in. So for example, I'm in the info form. If I select OK, it will print out the entire info form. Also, the other way to select the print form is F12. So if you hit the function key F12 on your keyboard, it will open the same print one form window. In the Autofill My Return feature, the corporate notice of assessment has been added to the Autofill My Return, AFR. In ProFile, you're going to open up your T2 corporate return. As you see here, mine is open. You're going to go under the File menu, Autofill My Return AFR. Then you're going to see the CRA data import. Here we're going to click Next. You're going to see the client's business number. You hit Next, and then CRA login. You'll see the CRA window pop up open in just a few seconds. Here you have to enter your CRA login. So I'll just do this. And you hit Login. And then here you'll see Tax Information Web Service. You hit Next. And then the tax information is being processed. And it says select successfully connected. Now you go back into ProFile. And here you can see your selected client's data to download. Here is the notice of assessment or reassessment. You can select a year here in the drop down. So 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, depending on the corporate tax return. So then you just select what year you want, and then you hit Next, and then it's downloading the content. This could take a couple of seconds. And the download is complete, so we continue. And here we have the summary of the data import. In the summary, I can select all items here, or I can just scroll down and review all my import summary. So I can see everything that's going to import. I can deselect certain options if I don't want them to import, or just leave it. And then you can review everything down here. And then once you've reviewed and you're ready to accept the AFR, then you transfer selected. Your T2 CRA data transfer is now complete. So now we can review the return. In order to view the NOA, I scroll all the way down to available NOAs. I select the one I want, and then it'll open up the CRA website. And then here we have the notice of assessment. So you can scroll down and review the summary of the notice of assessment and any other information that you may require. And this is how we import the NOA from AFR. Finally, we're going to review the CO17 Quebec filing and the provincial forms. To start, we are in the T2 info form, so we're going to scroll down to the jurisdiction. You're going to make sure that Quebec QC is selected from the drop-down, as well as in the head office address, mailing address, location of books. It should be all QC under the province. Same thing with signing officer. It should be probably QC. Then you're going to scroll down to the Quebec section. You're going to see Quebec enterprise number. This is mandatory, as well as the identification number for Quebec. This as well is mandatory. You'll see here that Internet File CO17 is selected yes, and then you're just going to answer the questions if necessary. In order to complete the Quebec return, you're going to need to go to Form Explorer. Here we're going to select number 6 Quebec, and you're going to need to open the CO17. This is the Quebec Corporate Income Tax Return. Let's go to Open. And here you see that most of the data comes from info or the T2 return, so it automatically flows from the federal side. In order to access any other provincial CO17 related forms, you go to Form Explorer, and again here Quebec is selected on the left, and then you're going to scroll through the list of Quebec related forms and schedules and use the ones you need to fill out your return. One of the most common Quebec forms used is the CO771. This calculates the income tax for the corporation. So if you open up this, and you'll see here that you have to fill out the information. Most of it pulls through on the federal side, and then it calculates the Quebec taxes owing. Once you have completed your CO17 corporate tax return and you are ready to file it, you will go to eFile, and here you're going to see Internet File the CO17 return. You will see it's pretty much the same as the T2 eFile, so you'll see here it says Build CO17. The status is loading. This takes a couple extra seconds, and then it's successful. So you click OK, and the CO17 will e-file to Revenu Quebec. Note that if you don't have an e-filer ID or Click Secure ID, then you will not be able to e-file the CO17. So if you go in e-file, options, here you'll see T2 CO17 Internet Filing. So if you don't have a NetFile QC number and an access code, or if you do not have a Click Revenu user code and password, then you will not be able to e-file the CO17. You will need to paper file it. If you need to print the CO17 for paper filing, then you're going to go into the File menu, Print, and here you're going to select just the CO17 in the print job. You're going to select Advanced down here. You're going to select just column 3 because the column 3 is for Quebec, for the Revenu Quebec. And in the language, for Revenu Quebec, the CO17 paper file forms must be in French. So you can select with this little drop down here beside the language, you can select F for always print in French. So you select and then print. If you are printing just the customer copy or the copy for the file, then you can untick column 3 and tick either column 2 or column 1 and then print. We have reached the end of our video. For more profile support, you can visit support.intuit.ca/profile. You can also visit the CRA website and Revenu Quebec website for further information on their forms and tax returns. Thank you for watching.